and I feel like I go through this yearly phase of just being like so hyper focused on the selection. And right now I'm in this phase and I need to make this video to just like get it out of my brain. Hello everybody and welcome back to Pass the Popcorn. I am so happy you are here. Today we are doing something that I have honestly envisioned in my brain for over a decade, and I'm actually like so excited to put this to paper or to video and solidify this in my mind. And this, I have spent like weeks, months, years doing this. But today we are fan casting my favorite book series of all time, The Selection series. I love these books so incredibly much. In fact, you can see like my tabs and things. I'm rereading them right now. And while I'm reading them, I'm tabbing character descriptions and costume descriptions because I'm trying to like gather pictures and things and like put it to paper. Anyways, but today we are fan casting. If they were to ever make a movie of The Selection, who would we want to play our main characters? I have honestly thought about this and nothing else for over 2 decades. I have reread these books, I would say over 6 times that I can actually count. It's probably been a few more, but like these are just like my safe place. Like I love these books. Every time I feel like I'm in a book rut, I just go back to these. When I read a book that I don't love, I end up rereading this one just so I feel happy again. Because I just love them so much. So Kiera Cass, if you are watching this, I just want to say thank you. Like, you have no idea what these books have done for me in my life. My biggest dream in the whole world is that they will make this into a movie and they'll actually make it well. There have been many like attempts at putting these books on screen. Most recently, Netflix had the rights. They had a director. I heard that they were like almost done with the script and were talking about casting. And then for an unknown reason, it just got dropped and they just decided to abandon it. And I was following the movie news very closely for like 2 years. And I think it was last year that it got dropped and I was devastated. I do think Netflix would have done a really good job. And so that was really sad. So now the rights are up for grabs for a studio to make these into a movie. And I'm kind of like, hey, Amazon Prime, Angel Studios, Warner Brothers, like, come on, someone pick up these books because I need this movie series so badly. And I feel like we're back in the era of like books to movie adaptation. If you have not heard of the Selection series, what rock have you been under? Respectfully. But these are incredible. They are a young adult, like, dystopian romance series. It follows our amazing female lead. Her name is America Singer. She enters into a competition. The prince has come of age and he needs to find a wife. And basically they hold a royal version of The Bachelor. It's so good. If you've watched some of my other videos, you know I'm a big Bachelor franchise fan. So, and I have this very girly side of me that just like adores princesses and ball gowns and all the things. And so the fact that they put on like a royal bachelor, it just like kills me. Like it like heals my inner girl soul. Anyways, they're amazing. This is the original trilogy. There's 3 books: The Selection, The Elite, and The One. And then there's like an epilogue series called Happily Ever After, and it adds some perspective of some other characters in the books. And then there's the very controversial sequel duo that's not a trilogy, it's just 2 books. I don't want to like give it away. Spoiler warning. It follows their daughter. Not such a big spoiler, but then she comes of age and she has her own Selection series, so it's like reverse. Today we are only going to be fan casting the original trilogy, the original book series. If you would like to see a fan cast of the sequel duo, The Crown and the Heir, let me know. I have pics for this. Let me know if you want to see it. But today that's not what we're doing. Today we are fan casting these ones. Ta-da! Also, this is kind of a new filming setup and a new microphone, so I'm really sorry if the audio quality isn't great. I'm testing out a few different ones. I really hope it's okay because this video means like so much to me. Anyways, and if you like this background more than some of my others, let me know too. I feel like I'm trying to like decide my style. And picking a YouTube background is a lot harder than I thought it would be. The selection follows three main characters, and that is America singer Maxon Schreaves, he's the prince, and Aspen Ledger, he is America's first love. And there's a love triangle. Spoiler alert, there's a love triangle. In the selection series, there's also a caste system that they have split up society into 1 through 8, and each caste has a different career. And as you go lower in the caste, you're basically going from royalty to poverty. So ones are royalty, they're the richest, most well off. When you get down to caste 8, that's like poverty, homeless. It's awful. So America, Maxon, and Aspen like have to be dead on. Like they carry the books, especially America. She is a female lead character that I actually really love because she is super feminine and loving. She wants to be a wife and a mom. She wants love. She has a little bit of fight to her, but she's also very feminine and sweet, endearing. She can be emotional and she does make mistakes. I don't think there's any perfect lead female book character, but as far as they go, America comes pretty dang close to being pretty perfect. I really do love her. I feel like her heart softens a lot throughout the book series. She changes a lot, and I feel like she just has a very like righteous conviction about her, and she cares about doing the right thing. And I just really admire her. So her casting has to be done correctly. She is described as having long, bright red hair, pale skin, deep blue green eyes. She's very naturally beautiful, graceful, and there's one description of her that is always in the beginning of the selection. People describe her as not knowing how beautiful she actually is. She has like a very natural beauty to her. Her personality, though, she's very strong willed, passionate, compassionate. She can be a little bit impulsive. She enters the selection to support her family because you do get paid for being in the selection, but then she ends up falling in love with Maxon while also kind of mourning the loss of her first love with Aspen. Aspen ends up showing up at the castle. She's like really struggling with, there's a little love triangle going on. Does she still love Aspen, but she's really falling for Maxon? She ends up loving Maxon and picking him and winning the selection. She also, I believe, is about 18 years old when she enters the selection. Anyways, I came down to two picks, Caitlin Dever and Liana Liberto. And I ended up landing on Liana Liberto. Liana has very feminine features. I feel like her high cheekbones, and she is very feminine but can also be very strong-willed and play that kind of character. I just think she would do incredible. Incredible. And I feel like she's kind of an underrated actress right now, and I think that would be good for America because America is the underdog in the selection. So I just think Leona would do incredible. I think she has the chops for it. And I think she would be a fantastic leading lady. Now, Maxon has to be, he has to be perfect. Like, Maxon is like the ultimate dream guy. I love him so much. So he's a one, obviously. He's royalty. He's described as being tall, lean, and very like regal in his presence. And he's a gentleman, like through and through. He has light brown hair. It's often very neatly styled, warm golden brown eyes. He's charming. He has a reserved smile. His posture is always like very perfect because of his royal upbringing. And he's always in like tailored suits and uniforms and everything, right? He's the Prince of Ilea. So, but Maxon is so thoughtful and so compassionate. In the beginning, he's a little bit stiff, but he really warms up as he gets to know the girls, and especially America. She softens his heart, and he is just extremely genuine. So, Maxon, he has to be perfect. I found this person on the internet. I've never seen him in anything, but Michael Provost, I think, has the perfect look for Maxon. He is also someone who I don't know very well. I think he's a little bit more underrated as an actor, and I think that could bode well for him. But he definitely has like the tall, lean figure, the golden brown hair. I think he could do a great job. And then him and Leon are playing off each other, and I think they look really well together. I think it would be a good pair. And Aspen is our resident bad boy, but not a bad boy, but he is a bad boy. I don't know. Aspen, is the tough, rugged, he's America's first love. She also needs to pair really well with the actor who plays him. I went way back and forth on this. In fact, I don't know if I'm still like 100% settled in this, but I think I've decided. But let's describe Aspen. Aspen has dark hair. He has a very strong build. He is a class 6 or a caste 6. So he has a lot of years of physical labor under his belt, striking green eyes. He has a rugged handsomeness, standing tall with an air of resilience. He's very loyal, very protective, and he's very proud, but he does deeply care about America. But he can be very stubborn, very driven, and this is like a great way to describe him. His sense of honor and responsibility often conflicts with his emotions, so it leads him to make sacrifices that usually end up hurting himself. He's just a very like good guy. Aspen is a great guy. Now, he's America's secret boyfriend in the beginning, first love, and then they end up breaking up when she goes into the selection. He ends up becoming a palace guard, getting assigned to guard America. And then he actually ends up falling in love with one of America's maids, Lucy, which is amazing. I actually love their love story. And I think if it was made into a movie, it could be a little bit more explored than it is in the books. Anyways, Aspen. Aspen needs to be this rugged, charming, handsome man, right? And I've gone back and forth between two people. And the first person is Wolfgang Novogratz, who has 100% has the look for it. And then the second person is actually Drake Roger. Drake Roger is currently dating Meg Donnelly. That's actually how I like heard of him. I've never seen him in anything. When I saw him, I was like, that is Aspen. Like he looks just like him. Now, Wolfgang Novogratz has actually been my pick for a couple of years now, so that's kind of hard to give up, but I think I have settled on Drake Roger. I think he is perfect for the role. Wolfgang has like a princely face, and I think it would be kind of hard to root for Maxon if Wolfgang was Aspen, because I think Wolfgang is very attractive. So, but I think Drake Roger is also very attractive, but he kind of has a more like stubborn drivenness to his facial features. I don't know how to describe this. He just looks a little bit more rugged than Wolfgang does. And I think that works very well for Aspen. Now, those are my top three. So we have Liana Liberto as America, Michael Provost as Maxon, and Drake Roger as Aspen. And these three have to play off each other so well. Like they are going to carry the film franchise if it was ever made into a movie. So these three have to be perfect. And I think this is like my perfect casting. Now, moving on to the rest of the cast, we're going to talk about the maids, America's maids next. So when she goes into the castle, she gets 3 maids who basically are there to help her get ready for events, help her acclimate to palace life and other things, and basically just there to support her. And her maids, I would say, are a very big part of the story in the books. In fact, Lucy especially is a very big part of the story because she actually ends up falling in love and marrying Aspen. And America is very close with her maids. So when thinking about fan casting this, with the person I picked for America, so Liana Liberto, Liana needs to have a lot of chemistry with her maids and get along with them, and they all need to really kind of mesh well together. And the 3 maids are very different in personality, looks, and style. So they all also need to look good together while also looking very like distinguishable. Lucy is also a little bit more complicated because she also needs to mesh very well with Aspen because they need to look very compatible because they end up falling in love. So you need to really root for them, and like when you look at them, you need to be able to think like, yeah, they would make a couple. So when thinking about her maids, we have Anne, Mary, and Lucy. Anne is described as she's the oldest of the 3 maids. She really kind of takes like the lead of the group. She's very practical, professional, well-mannered. Anne is described like her physical description as being like tall and slender, and then dark brown hair and very elegant and refined. Anne is also like very calm under pressure, and her and America become very close. Like America really trusts Anne, becomes one of her closest confidants. So I chose Sophia Wiley for Anne. I think Sophia plays she plays mature very well, but she's also very youthful. So I could see her really playing opposite of Liana very well and portraying Anne. And I could just see audiences really falling in love with her as that character. And Anne has a lot of like growth in the books and throughout the story. And I just think Sophia Wiley would do a very good job. Now, moving on to Mary. Mary is the quiet, observant, and very kind one. She's somewhere, she like kind of lies between Lucy's warmth and Anne's poise. So she kind of lands in the middle of both of them. Mary is not as prominent as Anne or Lucy is in the book. In fact, we don't learn a ton. We do know later on she ends up falling in love with someone from the palace. But that's all we like really know about her. We do know she caters to America's needs very well. She's always kind of watching out for America's comfort. So for Mary, I picked Amanda Arcuri. I really hope I'm saying that last name right. It could be Arcuri. Anyways, I think she could portray Mary very well, and I do think she would fit in with the two that I picked for Anne and Lucy. So that brings us to Lucy. Lucy is a very important character in the books. She is described as being very petite, very delicate. She has like a soft, timid demeanor. She's sweet, a little emotional, deeply loyal, and she's definitely the most sensitive of the maids. She often cries a lot when she's overwhelmed, but despite being shy, she is incredibly strong, and especially later on in the series. She has a very close relationship with America. She does eventually fall in love with Aspen and they later get married, but really she is like the emotional heart of the trio of the three maids. So I thought none other than the Isabel May would be an incredible pick for Lucy, especially because Isabel has played Katie on the Alexa and Katie show on Netflix, where Katie deals with anxiety, and the way Isabel portrays that is incredibly beautiful and emotional. I could just see her really bringing a lot of that like emotional depth to Lucy in this depiction of the selection. Oh, she'd be such a good pick. And I could see her and Drake Roger looking very good as a couple and developing their love story as Aspen and Lucy. So these are the three maids that I picked. We have Sophia Wiley as Anne, Amanda Arcuri as Mary, and Isabel May as Lucy. Now, if you throw Liana Loberto in here with them as America and then her three maids, I think these three look great together. They don't look too cohesive to where you're like they could be family and best friends, but I think it looks cohesive enough, but also different enough to where you're like, yep, you can tell America's a little bit of an outsider in the palace, and these three all look so differently, but they also can get along very well and help each other out in this unfamiliar situation. And then I could see them really forming a close bond all together, and I could see each of them depicting that very well. So those are my picks. Okay, let's move on to the elite girls. Now, I do want to say I did not cast all 30 girls that get cast in the selection because so many get cut very early on, and so many of them, like, I don't even know if we know everyone's names. In fact, there's even one character of the elite that I was like, she is hardly ever touched on, not described very well. It was hard to fan cast her for that reason. So, anyways, I'm not casting all 30 girls who get cast in the selection. We're just casting the elite, which is the top 6. Now, this was very difficult because each of these girls has to look very compatible and as if they could be in a relationship with Maxon, Michael Provost, who I think he could look good with anybody, but it's gonna, I mean, it has to match, right? They have to look compatible, but then at the same time they have to not look too compatible because they can't outshine America, and they need to, you need to root for America first above any of them, but then they also need to kind of pull like at your heartstrings a little because it is competition, right? With that being said, let's move on to the 6 elite girls. Or I should say the 5 elite girls because America is a part of that 6. Starting with Marlee. Now, Marlee is America's best friend. in the selection. Marlee and America have to have a very strong friendship, and it has to read on camera very well. Marlee is described, she has like honey blonde hair, so kind of a warmth blonde. She has a very warm smile. She's very bright, naturally beautiful, bubbly, affectionate, cheerful. She is like the ideal candidate for the selection. She does become America's closest friend throughout the competition, and she's arguably like the kindest girl in the selection. She is like the front runner of the competition because the selection is televised to the country. So she is the front runner in the selection series until she has a scandalous love story come out where she actually has fallen in love with one of the palace guards. Now, if one of the selection quote unquote cheats on Maxon, it is like literally considered a crime against the crown and is like penalized by death. But Maxon, because he knows how close America is to Marlee, decides to lower the punishment, and they have to have a public caning. Marlee and Carter, who is the palace guard, which I'll get to who I fancast for him in a second. Anyways, it's a very sad subplot, but it's very integral to both Marlee and America's story, and Marlee is just such an important character. And I hope I'm saying her name right. Marlee has to be incredibly lovable at first glance, right? So I went back and forth on a lot of girls who could play Marlee because there's a lot of talented blondes in Hollywood. I ended up landing, and I feel very good about this choice, of Breck Bassinger. Now, Breck just has the most feminine, soft features in her face. I think she can play bubbly, bright, happy, cutesy very well, but then also the opposite of kind of emotional depth, sadness, hurt, and I think that's very integral for Marlee. So I think she's a perfect pick. Now, kind of diverting from the elite girls for a second. Now, she falls in love with Carter Woodwork, who's a palace guard, and he's loyal, kind-hearted, quietly courageous. He does secretly fall in love with Marlee during the selection. Later, they do marry and become very close friends of America and Maxon. I thought opposite Breck Bassinger, Mason Thames would be perfect to play Carter Woodwork. And I think after seeing him in the Regretting You trailer, I was like, oh, he can do like relationships in a movie very well, and I just like want him to be in this so bad. So Mason Thames is my pick for Carter Woodward. Okay, getting back into the elite girls, next we have Celeste. Now Celeste is one of the most complicated characters in the selection. She comes from a very like high society. She's like a 2 in the caste system, so she has a very high social standing when coming into the selection. She is described, her physical appearance is described as being like tall, statuesque, dark hair. She's like strikingly beautiful, always styled perfect, and she's kind of rude and snobby and like classic snobby rich girl. Initially, she's very cruel, manipulative, competitive, classic like mean girl archetype. However, later on, she actually softens so much and grows a lot more vulnerable, and she does end up having a very surprising bond with America, and they actually end up being very good friends by the end of the selection. So, who could possibly play this character? Because this is really complicated. Like, she has to go from being someone you literally hate to being someone that you actually really love and getting along with America. So I thought actually Ryan Whitney would be an incredible pick for this because I think her facial features can read as both. And I think she could play both very well. And I think she would do a good job of changing audiences' heart. Sometimes if you cast someone who's like too much on the mean girl archetype side, later on when they have the switch, it can be hard for audiences to switch with them just because their features are so defined on the opposite side. So I think Ryan Whitney would be a good pick for this because she could do both. Now moving on to Elise. Elise is someone in the elite. These names are crazy. Her parents view the selection as a political advantage. She's actually from a country called New Asia in the book. So New Asia is an ally of Ilea, but they kind of have hard tensions. So basically, if her and Maxon got married, that would like heal a lot of those broken bonds between the two countries. That's why she's in this selection. That's why her parents signed her up for it. And that's really her only goal. She does not love Maxon. She's really just there out of like responsibility. Her physical appearance is described as being very elegant, refined, black hair, almost almond shaped eyes. So she is described as being of Asian descent. She's very reserved, very composed. She's not very emotionally vulnerable. I don't know if she gets very close to anyone in the selection, but she is a part of the elite, so I felt like it was important to cast her. So I actually felt like Minnie Mills would be a fantastic casting for this. Elise needs to be very soft, but also composed, perfect, and like poised. Like walls up, but also very like feminine. And Minnie Mills, I think, could do that very well. Okay, and then Natalie. Natalie is the elite girl who there's not a lot of description on her in the book, and she's kind of hidden in the background a little bit. Honestly, like the biggest description for her is that she's a ditzy blonde. Like that's like the best description of her. She's stunning, glamorous, golden blonde hair. She's styled in elaborate curls, bright blue eyes, flawless complexion. Like she is like outgoing and bubbly, just like Marlee, but she can also be very shallow. She's kind of more focused on like fashion, luxury, glamour. She is a little bit selfish, and honestly, the best way I can describe her is like ditzy blonde, like Sharpay Evans, that kind of archetype. I felt like Lily Sheen could be a good pick for Natalie. I don't think I'm too picky about who plays Natalie, but because she is in the elite, I did want to fan cast her, and so I did pick Lily Sheen for her. I think she would do a very good job. Moving on to Chris, the last of the 6 elite girls. Chris is extremely complicated. And that is because Chris's story, she actually is like 100% emotionally invested in Maxon. She does love him and wants to marry him, so she's a little competitive in that sense. Versus all the other elite girls, you come to find out that they don't actually care that much. And like Marlee falls in love with someone else. Celeste ends up not loving Maxon. She was really only there for like the fame of it in the beginning. Elise is only there for political advantage. Natalie ends up actually getting killed before the last book even starts in one of the rebel attacks. So then that leaves Chris. Chris is actually in love with Maxon and does want to marry him, and almost does. Hopefully you've read the book so you know what I'm talking about, but where Chris is really complicated is you find out that she is actually a rebel spy in disguise in the selection, and she does love Maxon, but she is also trying to push the rebels agenda by becoming queen and then like helping that part of the country. Her physical appearance is described as dark hair, clear skin, very sweet features, and she's often described as having like the perfect princess look by the public. Polished, she's poised, she's intelligent, she's kind. She like wins over the heart of the public, where America really does not win the public's affection. But because she has this rebel background, she's very diplomatic, nurturing, and great with people because she is kind of using it to her advantage. She is America's biggest rival later on in the selection. When thinking about who to cast as Chris, this person needs to kind of very sweet, kind, but also has like this hidden spy girl, Black Widow persona inside of her. So I actually thought Bailey Madison would be a fantastic casting for Chris. I think Bailey Madison is someone who she can be very polarized in Hollywood's eyes, because I think a lot of people like her and a lot of people dislike her, which I think would bode well for playing Chris because the public loves her, but then as an audience watching the selection, you need to not like her because she is America's biggest rival. But then there is something about her that needs to intrigue you a lot. Okay, so that is the 6 elite, including America, Liana Liberto. I will put them up on the screen right here. So these are the 6 elite girls. This is my dream casting for the selection. I think that they would all do phenomenal, and this is like how I envision it in my head when I read it. Okay, moving on to the last section of fan casting, and that is the families. And I'm only casting America's family and Maxon's family because they both play 2 very large roles in the storyline. Now, let's start with the Schreaves. They are the royal family of Ilea. You have Amberly, which is Maxon's mom, and then King Clarkson, Maxon's dad. Amberly and Clarkson had their own selection. That's how they fell in love. She obviously won, and they've been married, had Maxon. She's described as being very gentle, sweet, elegant, loyal. She is like deeply devoted to Clarkson, even though he really doesn't deserve it. But she is like the ideal image of a queen. Everyone just describes her as like elegant, graceful, like they just adore her. And she really is kind of Maxon's like sweet spot throughout his life, because his dad is very abusive. Clarkson is a very abusive father. He is a very tough leader and king, and he does physically and emotionally abuse Maxon, and you find that later on, and it's very, very sad. Clarkson hates America because she has very radical ideas of how to change the country, and he hates that. He's this very cold authoritarian. He is somewhat of a dictator, wanting to keep things the way they are, and things are not great in the country. He's very controlling of Maxon and Queen Amberly. So how do you cast such opposite people, right? Like Amberly is this elegant, beautiful, kind, adoring queen, and then Clarkson is this tough, controlling, manipulative, abusive king. Well, I found him. So for Queen Amberly, I cast Carla Gugino and King Clarkson Alan Richson. And I think if you put them side by side with Michael Prevost, who I have cast as Maxon, they look like a family. Crazy. So this is my pick for the Schreaves. But moving on to the Singer family, so this is America's family, who are also big parts of the book. I would say they're not as prominent as the Schreaves are. For Magda Singer, that is America's mom, I cast Amy Adams as Magda. Now, she is described as being very strict and ambitious and very appearance focused. She is somewhat controlling, but I think it's just because she really wants what's best for her daughters and her family. So she can come off very strong. And she is described as being red hair, just like America. And I thought Amy Adams would be perfect for this because she also has those like round cheekbones, just like Liana Liberto. So I think they kind of look like mother daughter. And Amy can play that kind of concerned, overbearing mother character. Now, for America's dad, his name is Shalom Singer. He is very gentle and artistic, quietly supportive. He is described as he's a painter who's always encouraged America's independence and her creativity, and they just have a very close relationship. We actually find out that he's actually secretly a Northern rebel, and that is why he named America America, because he believed in the United States of America before ILEA was formed. He is also described as being very slender and tall. I actually thought Matthew Good would be a fantastic cast as America's dad, because I could see him really playing that like fatherly warmth, quietly supportive, giving a lot of advice, and I could see him and Liana having a very sweet relationship. Now, America has 4 siblings. One she's very close to, that's her younger sister May. 2 of her older siblings, Kenna and Coda, have already moved out of the house and they actually don't live with the family anymore. And then Gerard, he is the youngest brother, and I did not cast Coda, Kenna, or Gerard because in my mind, Gerard is really young. They could find any child actor. He's not the biggest part. Coda and Kenna hardly make an appearance, and I think if they were to make a movie, they could just completely write them out or be very little castings. I don't think it's very important who they cast in those roles. But May, her younger sister, is a very important casting because her and May are so close. They are like best friends. May is described as being like very bubbly, dramatic, affectionate, enthusiastic. She is like over the moon that the selection is happening. If she could enter the selection, she would. She like loves love and all those things. Classic like little sister vibes, I think. She looks up to America so much, and she really is described as like the joy of the Singer family. I think Christine Froseth would be a fantastic pick for May, and I could see her and Liana really having a sweet sister relationship in the movie. And yeah, I just think she would do a really good job. So, okay, now I'm going to put on my screen. This is the Singer family that I have cast. I think that they would look fantastic all together. And there is quite a few scenes in the beginning of the first book where she has a lot of interactions with her dad, with her sister, with her mom. So I do think that it will be important who is cast as her family because it really defines who America is. Those are my picks. That is my fan cast for the selection. Kind of wild that I just like put this to paper because I have thought about this for so long. And honestly, if they were ever to make a movie into this, I think I would just like cry, sob, and weep and do everything I possibly could to go to the premiere and buy all the merch and like I would go absolutely feral if they ever made the selection into a movie trilogy. I just would die. And if they actually like had some of this casting, I don't expect them to use it all, but if they had some of this casting or better, I would just like lose my mind. So I'm gonna put this on my screen last. These are the big six. So these are who I think are the main characters of the story, and these six need to look the most compatible with their partner and with each other. Liana Liberto as America, Michael Provost as Maxon Schreaves, Drake Roger as Aspen Ledger, Isabel May as Lucy, Breck Bassinger as Marlee Thames, and Mason Thames as Carter Woodwork. I think they look pretty good. I think like this is what I see when I read the books. So let me know, all you selection fans out there who are watching this video, please let me know in the comments, like, do you agree? Do you have other picks that maybe you think would be better? I would just love to know, just fangirl with me, please. This is me begging. I just love this book series so much. So let me know in the comments below what you think of my picks. Would you want to see this movie? I'd also love to know like what studio would you want to see produce this film franchise. Like I said earlier, this is not the most typical video I do on the channel because I do focus more on like TV shows and movies, not as much books. But I really just like was so excited about this and I just had to like put this out there in the universe because I am obsessed with this book series so much I couldn't stop thinking about it. And when I was thinking about starting this fan casting series, I was like, I can't not do the selection. Like I just have to. Like this is something I've dreamed about forever. And when I started doing this kind of like skyrocketed my idea of fan casting a ton of other movies. So now I have this huge notes, like basically category in my phone where I just fan cast animated movies. Anyways, but this is what kickstarted that. So thank you so much for watching this video. Genuinely, 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 I appreciate it and I appreciate you. And thank you for just being here and fangirling with me. Please, if you can, like this video if you like it and you want to see more fan castings in the future. And please subscribe to the channel so we can keep hanging out on YouTube together and so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next week on Pass the Popcorn.